Welcome to the Human AI Alliance. I'm your host, Lee Bristow. We invite guests onto the show who can provide detailed, high-resolution answers to questions we have about the Human AI Alliance. This episode tackles one of the biggest questions in AI. Is there really an AI blind spot in the boardroom? Today, we welcome Onur, a non-executive director and one of the most respected voices guiding leaders at the intersection of AI, cybersecurity, and data protection. Thank you for joining the Human AI Alliance. Welcome, Onur. How are you doing?
Thank you very much, Lee. I am very well. Hopefully everyone listening us very well too. Actually, thank you very much for having me. Hopefully we will make it worth to listening to everyone today.
I have no doubt of that, Onur. So let's get started. And always a good place to start is at the beginning. So how did you find your way into AI, cyber governance, and data privacy?
Oh, Lee, it's a huge story. Most probably the previous speakers always giving you the huge talk about their background story. But I have to. I am always saying cybersecurity is my first love because I started my career in cybersecurity area after I getting my engineering degree and make my first master's degree in engineering area in the computer science and the industrial engineering. I started in PwC and KPMG kind of professional services companies. I managed their cybersecurity teams. But after all, after GDPR came into our life, the 2018, 2016, 2017, every year we just talk about that. So after just came into my life, I understood that without a legal or law education, I cannot do it just with the cybersecurity kind of engineering education. So that is why after I decided to, getting that education, I got my LLM degree in the law school from technological law side. So that is why I got both engineering and law degrees. But after I moved to Dublin, it was always a dream getting education from University of Cambridge. So I want to be, and be part of University of Cambridge. It just a dream comes true in my life. So I got my last executive master's degree in University of Cambridge. It basically on data analytics and LLM language models. So that is why I am both in cybersecurity and privacy side. But after getting that kind of education, and of course, AI came into force in our life, I joined a lot in AI area too. So we are here now.
You are the poster child for continuous learning.
I love it. I love
it. Wow, that is quite the CV and very, very impressive, Onur. So without further ado, let's jump into it. The focus is going to be on the boardroom. So, when we talk about shadow IT, and this is something that you would remember from your cybersecurity days, we've now got the bigger, scarier brother, shadow AI. Is that a concern for the board? And if it is, how would you paint a picture of the level of concern a board should have about shadow AI?
Lee, actually, it's a hard question because we still have basic problems with shadow IT. So we are talking about shadow AI. From my perspective, of course, I will give some C-level or my own perspective about shadow AI. But you know what? We are still not there. If you're asking about AI, we are still trying to recognize, identify, understand the real fundamentals of these technologies. So that is why shadow AI is the biggest dilemma right now. So let's talk about it. Let's just trying to giving the identification. What is this shadow AI? Shadow AI refers AI tools and models that employees deploy outside formal IT, legal, or we can say security oversight. So that is why it's not just a bunch of people. We are talking about AI tools or models. Maybe we can say platforms too, because from US perspective, they are including platforms into too. And often for productivity gains, we can say a rapid prototyping or experimentation things we are still using. The prototypes is important because with AI, we are calling that LLM, so we are just trying to train it in the corporate ways and in individual ways too. So that is why we are calling it prototypes. So it means that it's continuously learning. We are continuously training it for us. So there are systems that haven't gone through proper governance, channels, or risk assessments or compliance checks. Think of a data scientist using a free generative AI model in cloud to clean sensitive data, or marketing. We cannot say just marketing team running a proprietary product information through a third party AI tool to generate content. So it is just like that. So today we are talking about AI, but if it's the on-prem systems, it's totally different. But if like a giant companies, we are using cloud, it is totally different. So let's say from C-level perspective, shadow IT or shadow AI is especially concerning because maybe we can classify it. First of all, data exfiltration risks. So sensitive information can be uploaded into models where IP or PII could be exposed. So, especially recent 2025 incidents in US, Europe, or China have shown even anonymized data sets can be re-identified through generative AI, we can say, like an output or sometimes like a just reflection in a tool. Because I think, Lee, the biggest dilemma, you know that we generally just trying to support all the our clients, our businesses, C-level legal teams, data minimization because GDPR always giving back that kind of advice to us.
Yeah.
But today they create AI and we are asking AI for the best service. So people like me just wants like that. For example, oh, Honor, you should drink your water because your kilogram is like that. Your today is the performance is something. So we are asking that kind of very high qualified, tailor made, and specifically just for us kind of
Yeah.
services. But it's the biggest dilemma because GDPR just saying back to us data minimization. But if you minimize your PII to feed AI systems, it means that you will get a poor service, not a specific tailor-made service. So that is why data exfiltration risks is the biggest fun for C-level because especially in Gen AI platforms, C-level like fintech companies, like healthcare companies, they are focusing on making money, not focusing on security or privacy, not their first concern in their daily life. Oh, privacy are biggest issues in the companies. They are they are just wants to focusing on their main issues in the companies, and the financial, tables is the biggest outcome for them. So that is why we need to find a balance between that dilemma. Think about it. As a lawyer in a company, you are working and you're talking about data exfiltration risks, your C-level. So how can you explain the problems from proprietary algorithms? So that is why it's a balance right now. People generally calling about AI governance and the innovation, balance. There is no balance between innovation and compliance. It's just opposite side of it. We just try to, make it adapt together. So we cannot say it's a balance. The balance is understand the real fundamental things in that the C-level for the C-level approach for the corporate companies and then put the right rules on the right area, not just like an blocker as an enabler in the companies. So another one is IP leakage because like that
Yeah.
kind of the we can say again the proprietary code, not just algorithms. Code, algorithms, and technical designs can be used as a creating downstream without contracts that enforce ownership. We can say because right now if any software developers or designers wants to enhance any codes, they generally using the open source area. Lots of our audience most probably got some knowledge about DeepSeek examples because right now from OpenAI perspective, we have still lots of open cases. Every day we are just talking about different kind of problems around the world, from the magazine side, from the newspaper like New York Times, somewhere, because at the beginning of all that kind of stories, OpenAI created a very social responsibility companies for people. They're just trying to explain themselves. We are creating a technology, called it generative AI, for benefits of people. But after Microsoft bought a part of it, they turned into a black box systems and
Yeah.
closed their, turn into black model for their algorithms. So at the beginning of this year, DeepSeek make a Sputnik moment in the AI history. And after all, they just blamed DeepSeek. You stole our algorithms. Everybody, not stole. We cannot say it stealing because everybody using their algorithms right now. So that is why IP leakage is the biggest problem right now for the C level. For boards, this is a particularly critical, we can say, because IP is often a company's crown jewels. We can say that because yesterday, that we saw some of the robbery from the lure. We
From
can
the
say
flip. Uh,
I think
I,
it's a perfect match.
I don't know if it's true, but I saw somebody left a step ladder there or something like that into the window. But oh man,
Yes,
literally the crown jewels got stolen,
yes.
and they all kept it in the same place without any security. It's like big corporate.
Yes, Lee. So I think it's a perfect example. Like the rule from the back door or from the back windows, just broken into it. So in the companies, that kind of critical IPs is the crown jewel, we can say, and misstep here can have multiple $1 million consequences, especially in sectors like pharma. We can say pharma is a perfect example. Aerospace, we can say, or advanced semiconductors, because their codes, their IPs, their jewels. And of course, the regulatory blind spots. Maybe I can give a perfect example. This year, when I started in different global conferences, I am always asking people how many legislations you are handling in your companies. One, two, three, four, five. Not five. You cannot use your fingers to count it because most probably more than 20, more than 30. So
Yeah.
the company is generally hiring their compliance team, their legal team, or whatever they are calling trust and safety. They change the name, but they're asking for them to understand more than 20 legislations at the same time and be an expert on it. How can they be like this, Lee? Just think about that. People just in the past, people just focusing on privacy, just security law, or just the emerging tech area or something. But right now, you have to understand everything at the same time, because I think this is biggest dilemma, because regulatory blind spot means that shadow AI can unitedly and deploy AI falls under high risk regulatory frameworks like EU AI Act without any risk assessments. In 2025, several mid-market European companies faced penalties for deploying unvetted models, HR, customer services, exposing sensitive personal data. So unvetting means that for us. Think about that again, please. In the past, when any authority create any legislations, they generally, on the parallel time as is, create an auditing committee. And if you are deploying or implement any legislation in your companies, they generally waiting as a ready mindset to audit you. But in today, which committee can audit AI? Just let me know that. I'm always saying that if we are handling that kind of technology in our corporate life, we cannot audit AI without using AI. We need AI to audit it too. So I think we just misuse that kind of bigger picture issues. So we are just focusing on the performance and agents area badly without control, that kind of the main zone, the vetting process, They are just putting different agents, and every day we are just hearing that kind of very spectacular examples, like AWS, for example. AWS sales team created different agents to control different regions, sales operation, and suddenly they understood that these different sales agents connected each other and started to talk. So after they understood it, they create another agents to block this conversation. I think it's an endless loop. We are just turning around it. So we couldn't understand the main fundamentals of this technology. We, I think, from my perspective, Lee, we are underestimated AI. We are still underestimated. We are still thinking that it's like an IT model, like IoT, like cloud. We always handle something like that. This is not like that. So please don't put very common old-fashioned rules to manage it, because this giant technology didn't create it to govern it. So just understand it and be adapt. Just trying to be adapted. So maybe I think this 3 points is the basic alert center for us. But from leadership perspective, directors must, or they must treat shadow AI as a board level concern, because after all, maybe you remember, lots of our audience remember most probably, in the past, cybersecurity always a support job. They never trying to give a seat in the boardrooms. They avoid it. They avoid it. I remember lots of caps, two different main dinner table after some very major incident events. The guy from the biggest table just going in other one and just asking cybersecurity guy, "Do you want to come and sit with us?" Did you remember that kind of caps? I think this is like that. Because shadow AI, for example, lots of C-level people thinking about that. It's so technical for us. So our IT team will handle it for ourselves. So, but it's not like that. Establish shadow IT or AI reporting protocols and ensuring executives map out all AI tools in use, even informal ones, is critical. So maybe we can say if any company is exposed of PII or IP leakage problems, most probably they've got categorizing problems in their AI models by potential harm things or something. So that is why risk-weighted AI inventory, it's the must thing right now. But don't think you are creating some Excels and putting AI systems on the Excel and managing it like GDPR, the first days of GDPR. It is not like that. Even in big giant companies, you know what? How many roles we are handling in one day in Microsoft, in Google kind of companies? Just give an guess to me. Just try to guess how many roles we have in risk management.
In risk management, at a guesstimate, maybe 300, 400. Like in
Three
that.
million, 3 millions role we have right now in a daily AI usage. 3 millions. How human beings
So I was
can
so wrong on that point.
you are so optimistic.
I was like, yeah, okay. That is insane, Anu. Wow. Like you kind of have highlighted the the scale of the problem. So I've got one question for you. Kind of, I know you're going to shift from your security, maybe go put your legal hat on for a second. And given the amount of risks that you've highlighted and the volume of risks, do you think it's now become almost like a fiduciary duty of a board member to skill up on AI and be able to understand genuinely what AI, responsible AI looks like?
Lee, from my observation, because you know that I am on the non-exec board right now, 6 different companies, and some of them in US, in EU, one of them is in Gulf countries. So my observation from the countries, all of these different continents looking at AI fundamentals, or we can say AI activities from different perspectives. If something a high risk AI systems, we called something in EU a high risk AI systems. In US, they are not calling it high risk. In Gulf countries, they are not calling it high risk. So there are a difference between global perspective. So maybe we can say in EU AI Act, if we are looking from European angles, it introduces us the concept of high-risk AI
Yeah.
applications that have significant implications for safety, rights, and compliance. So three major things: safety, rights, and compliance. So this includes AI used in HR, recruitment, healthcare, diagnostics, biometric identification, critical infrastructure. Think about sky's the limit. There are no, coming back from, oh, that department is out of our scopes or not. It's just not working like that. So that is why we are calling it AI democratization, data democratizations. So in the past, if any emerging technologies using in a companies, generally IT, security, or software engineering teams just joining and understand what is going on in that kind of tools or the technologies on the implementation level, and then they just try to give some explanation to other departments as an end user. But today, that is why we are calling it AI democratization, data democratization. I like it. If you put just IT people as a trainer, if you put just security people as a trainer, you are just, how can I, narrow mindset, giving a narrow mindset to AI. That is why, from HR perspective, from sales, procurement, think about there are lots of different kind of service lines in a company. We
Yeah.
need to understand their mindsets because every day as an end user they are training AI. We are training AI tools in the companies together, so you cannot ignore that kind of departments or service lines. So governance responsibilities then overseeing these deployments, it's not just coming to board level, whole the company. But of course boards of directors now have direct governance responsibilities. So they need to put their hands under that stones. So maybe we can summarize it in like that. Board responsibilities include for the high risk systems the strategic oversight because the directors, I mean that, must ensure company has a formal AI risk management frameworks integrated into our overall governance systems. But I am not just talking about, for example, if you're an FMGC companies like P&G or Unilever, for example, your main quarter is always in US and US creating a perfect risk management models for AI, and from Ireland or from any countries in Europe, you are saying we've got a perfect AI risk management frameworks and we integrated it. No, you cannot say it. You need to prepare yourself in a local with the local legislation and understand your priorities, your requirements, your problems in the local situations. So the biggest problem, strategic oversight, because companies tend to generally putting the international models, if they got any headquarters, that kind of models, documentation, data governance, human oversight, risk mitigation measures, everything is coming from the headquarters, and it's not matching with your position in the local area. So the liability awareness. I this year I love telling the JD Vane and the AI Paris Summit, story to the all different conferences to the audience, because this year, at the beginning of this year,
Yeah.
in Paris, in the middle of European, side union, suddenly after Trump government, got the force, JD Vane came on the stage and suddenly criticized our European culture and the democratization systems directly. And they just said, if you put that kind of strict rules, you are just blocking money and that kind of really giant companies, which the biggest player in AI markets, they cannot be part of it. So, you know what? Our commissions, all this bureaucracy, or maybe we can say all this authority worked on that kind of legislation, like AI liability directive kind of
Yeah.
supporting documentation, nearly 3 years. After that kind of a very sloppy speech, very aggressive speech, they took back over in just 2 nights. It's not fair. That is not fair. So I think, I'm so sorry to saying that, but the European Union always got a leverage as a lawmaker, not as a inventor or not as a technology creator. We are the lawmakers. We are carrying the flags for privacy, human rights, or whatever, the dignity. But after that kind of criticizing issues, it's so normal because in EU zone we are bleeding economically. Suddenly they took back over liability things. So it means that liability awareness is one of the major issues for the boards because boards can be personally accountable if the company fails into implement proper risk controls. For example, fines under AI Act can reach 6% of global turnover, but reputational damage and shareholder litigation are even more intermediate threats. Just think about that. There are lots of law firms. They are just focused, some of their teams just focusing on litigation. And there are 600 of turnover they got right now. From the Reuters information, they are saying it. So what does it mean for us? It means that if an AI systems discriminates against the customers or employees or just individual, very ordinary people, directors could face derivative suits for failing fiduciary duties. So it means that they need to take responsibility for all of this shit show. US made it to us. So we just agreed everything with all hands. So I think this is another point. So maybe the
So
last
I think you,
sorry,
yeah, no,
sorry,
go ahead,
go.
go ahead.
No, I just want to highlight the last one, the technical governance perspective. So if you want to say something, go on because it's another topic. I will join another one. So go on.
So the thought process that I was having was is that there's no sort of personal liability right now, but there is one under NIS 2. So there is a little bit of a directive or a little bit of liability coming into European boards, and for any US based firms that are operating here that do not put in place the required cybersecurity. And I think once NIS 2 is transposed into regulations across the different regions, Ireland's should be happening now in October. When that starts to transpose into the rest of Europe, there is a potential that AI liability piece of regulation could come back onto the table. From what I understand, it's basically stalled at this point, but it could come back. Again, I think it will depend on, a number of things, but one of them will be the success potentially of NIS 2 as a framework. And I also think it will also depend on whether or not the EU AI Act is able to identify real failures. And if it does start to find real failures, especially around high risk, that liability has to come back onto the table because it means that those boards are not actually taking this seriously. But I think before you go into the technical piece, one of the things that I thought was really, really interesting is that you are highlighting around your different non-executive roles. There is a thought process potentially, and again, I don't know if you're doing this, but potentially saying, we need to kind of float to the highest level, which is the EU AI Act. Everyone needs to kind of get on board with that, especially around the high risk, and it doesn't matter what your jurisdiction is. And then we can actually isolate any specific thing. So if you're in New York, maybe there is additional bias elements that you want to bring in because of X, Y, and Z. If you're in California, you might want to bring in their privacy regulations, whatever new regulations they're going to come out with in 2026 regarding AI. But if you baseline against what is the highest, it will support you going forward.
Lee, actually, I think my support is going to technical governance perspective because after all, yeah, there are lots of different approaches around the world, but numbers never say lies. I believe in the science. So that is why if I put my engineering hat, the directors must confirm that technical teams are implementing auditable, reproducible controls. For instance, we can say the data quality and bias monitoring, human in the loop supervision, and traceable decision logs. So these three areas the main issues. So from my perspective, just one deep notes. If your system is not at the same maturity level in the infrastructure, just isolate it, because in some companies we are seeing that they are putting AI systems just in the middle of everything. But for example, their procurement or their, the financial tools or somewhere is really so mature. But after all, for example, their HR system is not there, but they're just connecting everything at the same time. We are always saying the security generally calculating with your weakest point. So if
I
your
want to
weakest
I want to add in there something quickly, Anu, is that the EU AI Act is around product and product safety, which is what you highlighted. So again, if they're isolated, as you've highlighted, you bring in that product safety component so clearly. And I think that's so important what you're saying.
So sometimes we are missing that kind of, engineering point. But I think this is the most important thing, because I am using and I am working with lots of scale up companies too. And their biggest problem is that kind of oversight things. Because if you got a weakest point, just isolate it before you implement any AI systems. AI systems, platforms, models, just like a sponge. If you just embed it into your systems every day, sometimes without your knowledge, indirectly, it's just getting information and data from your systems. So that is why I am saying, if you are not there in any departments, just isolate it. After 6 months, when you're ready, when you make your audit and controls, you can do this connection. So I think from my perspective, the traceable decision logs is the problem in there. So they generally avoiding to understand that kind of logs on their IT audits. We generally trying to be, complying with, oh, DORA is okay, SOC 2 is okay right now. They generally making it like a paperwork. They're just avoiding reading all the logs. They're just getting some samples. And if that sample array is okay to, we can say handling the kind of audits, they're generally saying, okay, but AI system is not like that. Only, 1,000 of logs. If you got one malicious, it generally going there and digging it and finding and, getting all that kind of
And
malicious.
stripping it out. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if we compare this global perspective, maybe we can summarize it like that. As you mentioned, in US, they're using California rules. Of course, there are FDA and SACS and the SEC, we are calling that, they never using the data protection commissioner side or that kind of area. They generally using their federal trading agency to manage their security systems or the data protection systems, and of course AI governance area too. So in 2025, guidance experts disclosure of AI risks financial statements, failure to manage the high risk AI could trigger class action lawsuits or SEC enforcements. So this is important to us. Again, in US, they are not looking everything in a human rights way. They are looking from the financial understanding, the financial statements. In China, AI regulations are strict on the content generation and the data usage because they're just focusing on manage everything systems. So content generation and the data usage, their main area for the penalties. So abort compliance measures or risk operational shutdowns in China generally coming from if you got any threats in the privacy and the content compliance measures in the high risk AI area, it's not aligned with the government overviews. You can get penalties. They can just lock down everything in your company suddenly. So in China, it's not easy to create new systems. If you don't have eligibility, getting that kind of freedom from governments. So that is why if you want to create any systems, and it is a little bit nearly high risk AI systems, I mean that if you are using that kind of very critical data, US is the best location right now to, enhance your systems, not China. And if we are looking from the Gulf countries, because they are putting billions of dollars right now. They've got money from petrol, but today they are understood that the new petrol is AI. So they're putting all their monies, that kind of smart cities projects, getting AI professional into their countries. So the regulatory frameworks are emerging, but boards should anticipate alignment with the both EU and US standards if serving international clients. So it means that they just try to be a shadow AI, shadow of AI, right? In US or EU. But it's obvious that some of these countries got money, some of these countries got leverage, some of them is really got the knowledge.
Uh, so,
Choose
so
your
what
side.
you're saying is, yeah, no, I was going to say all of the shadow AI is coming out of the US is basically what you're saying. Man, yeah, I loved your comments, especially around the JD Vance elements and that kind of thing. I think, where I see the opportunity for Europe is actually around quality. So, I think, way back when, call it in the 90s, standards like NCAP came out, and that was around safety of cars. And before that, safety belts coming out of Europe. And again, it was that mindset, which was, this is going to slow down sales, is going to, become an issue in terms of closing those deals. And that's, very much US type sales mindset. And I can say that because I've worked with US sales businesses. And anything that is a blocker needs to be removed, and regulations like that can be seen as a blocker. But I think if you flip the script a little bit and you say, right, well, how can we use this? How can we leverage this up? And the answer to the question is quality. So if you can actually put out high quality products coming out of Europe that actually align with the EU AI Act, especially in areas that high risk AI systems are typically going to be triggering, it gives an opportunity for European companies to sell into Europe. But there is a flip side to it, which is if there is uncertainty in the regulations, if Europe had stuck to their guns in terms of the directive for actually implementing sanctions against directors that weren't putting in place the required AI governance, potentially, that would have actually created a level playing field that, guys, this is actually going to happen. This is the way that we're going to do it. And it's the uncertainty of the regulations that will stall investments. So I think there is nuance in there, and I think we just need to know that. And I think, do you have anything in closing? Because we are a little bit over time, and I've loved this conversation. But yeah, just in closing, any passing thoughts?
Actually, there are lots of things most probably I can say into my heart. But actually, I think maybe I like to challenge the idea that, the privacy or security compliance alone is enough to ensure responsible AI. Because every day in different conferences, we're just talking about, trustworthy AI, responsible AI, put right GDPR rules in there. And of course, cybersecurity is important because, yeah, you got hackers there enhancing their sales, but after all, you can use AI, enhancing your cybersecurity systems in your companies. We often see organizations saying that, well, our model is GDPR compliant, so we are fine. But it's so narrow lens because just think about that. We are still talking about, are you getting these phishing emails? Yeah, very sophisticated ones from AI perspective. And AI is not just creating
Yes.
for privacy professionals or cybersecurity professionals or ethicists or some think about. It's just for everyone. Just look around you. You've got parents, we've got, lots of friends. They are not working, understanding the technological enhancement around us. They're just doing very daily routine jobs, very ordinary people, and every day they're using AI systems. Nobody just, when ChatGPT, when you want to download any ChatGPT kind of or AI chatbots, are they asking to you, are you a privacy professional? Are you a security professional? No, never. And we are training everything at the same time together. And we are just putting lots of that kind of roles to very ordinary people. Oh, did you close the cookies? Or do you just turn on your settings for the security understandings? Or did you change when you got your new smartphone, the iPhone 17? Did you check it? Nobody's checking that. This is not working like this. So if we want to embed AI into our lives for beneficial things, first of all, we need to understand that AI is not here to replace us because still, I mean that still, because lots of people giving very, doomsday scenario on different podcasts. Oh, the world is done. The future is so dark. Yeah, it's dark. There are lots of risks. It's so obvious that. But after all, we still using AI in the language model systems. AI understanding everything with different kind of language, linguistic models, and just trying to give back answers and outcomes back to us. So it's not thinking
Yep.
like a human beings. The difference between the LLM models and NLP is there, but people, especially the legal compliance people, couldn't understand that if you are not touching software or codings. So AI is working with the linguistic models. So if you feed different kind of information with using normal alphabets and the well-known language, it could understand you, and just merging just infrared data and giving back to you like outcomes. So we need to be careful when we feed the information AI. If we cannot filter or we cannot understand which one is fake, which one is real, so it's the biggest problem for the companies, for the C levels. So if anyone wants to save this year or the day or tomorrow, they need to create good filtering systems to understand the data is clean, the real or the fake and infrared. So we are not there. That is why our problems is today. The AI is changing our social habits. AI is changing the societies. AI is changing our decisions. That is why people are manipulated very easily. So don't just try to be understand everything privacy. Don't just try to be understand every security details. You're not there. Just save yourselves. Just understand the fundamental issues. So after all, we just try to be, I don't know, how can I say in English, but in other language, there is something, the sheet professor kind of. If you are trying to learn everything from different principles like security, privacy, AI governance, compliance, and, everything at the same time, you can turn to yourself as a sheet professor. Don't do that. Don't be like a sheet professor. So you cannot do that.
I love that, Anu. I love that. Don't be a shit professor. And I'm going to say that that's the mic drop moment. Yeah, thank you very much, Anu. I appreciate your time. And to our audience, thank you for joining us. That was a absolute masterclass from Anu in terms of AI governance, cybersecurity, GDPR, world politics. Look at European investments, US investments, as well as the Gulf states. So yeah, if you found this conversation interesting and valuable, please share it with someone that you feel would benefit from its message. And I'm sure you know someone. So if you would like to reach out to me, you can get in touch with me on my LinkedIn page. If you'd like to have conversations regarding anything along the lines that we've discussed today, please feel free to reach out. And in closing, Anu, how can the audience get in touch with you if they would like to discuss the topic further with you?
Actually, like you, Lee, I am on the LinkedIn, and I got followers. I think they can find me on LinkedIn. So if anyone wants to ping me, ask any questions, or just join a casual conversations about AI, privacy, data protection, whatever they want, they can find me on LinkedIn as my name, Onur Korucu.
Amazing. Thank you, Anu. And on that note, thank you and goodbye.
Thank you very much for having me. Bye.
Bye.